So we're talking about operators and how we operate on variables. And operators apply simple operations such as addition and multiplication to operands such as variables or literal values. These usually return a new value, which is the result of the operation, and you can use this to assign that to a new variable that you then maybe use in a further calculation. You display it to the user, whatever you need to do with that data. Most operators are binary, meaning that they work on two operands. So I'll give you an example. We've learned about integers. So let's set up a couple of values. Give myself some space. So we can see here that we're using the addition or plus operator to make a mathematical operation. So our first number as the first operand, our operator, our second number as the second operand, then takes those two values, 5 and 10, adds them together and puts that value into our result of operation. So some operators are also unary, which means they work on a single operand. And they can apply before or after the operand, depending on where we place them. So we're going to look at some examples of how this works. So let's say we have an integer. Well, let's just go ahead and use first number. That way I'm not creating new variables. So let's say we increment by 1. So we could take first number plus plus. So by adding these two little pluses behind our operand, we are saying increment by 1. This is the same as if I would just have said first number plus 1. You get the same result, right? First number is 5, we add 1 is 6. If we evaluated these variables, we would see that both values turn out to be 6. And so we also have ternary operators, which work on 3 operands. And so we'll get into those as we get more complicated in our C# coding. But we can look at some of these different types of operators and how we can use them maybe to perform arithmetic operations on our numbers. So I already kind of gave you an example of how to do an addition, but let's look at how we could make some additional arithmetic operations on some variables and then actually view those results. So I have a first number and a second number. And so I'm just going to make some additional variables to hold some values. So what if we took first number minus our second number? We could put that into a result of subtraction. We can divide. So we could take our first number divided by our second number. Right, we saw our addition, right? First number plus second number. So we have many different mathematical operations. You can look at those in our book, but really just taking those two operands and applying the operator. Easy stuff. So we can use what we've previously seen as our console write line to write out these various values. And if we just put the variable inside of here like this, we get a statement that we can write out. But I'm going to show you something else on how we can make this a little better. But let's look at what all these different values give us. And you can see me copying and pasting. You don't have to. You can type it all out. You can use the IntelliSense to help you, like I start typing and I can hit tab. Whichever way, I'm just trying to go a little fast so that you can see the results. All right. So what we see in our console is just the result of those values. So we can compare that with what we said we were going to print. So result of operation, which was our plus, we get 15. Subtraction, we get -4. Division, we get 0. Multiplication, we get 60. Now we can make these look a little better by actually adding in some strings to our write line. So we could say result of addition and use the plus here, but when we use the plus with strings, we're doing what's called concatenation, and we'll get into some examples of what we can do with strings in another video, but let me show you the difference now. Now our output looks a little nicer, and we get result of addition, which was a literal string I typed in there, and then the value of that variable. So you can go through this section on different operators and get some practice on using some of these different operators, set up some different types of variables, maybe practice with doubles, practice with floats, and you could start to get some practice just on how these different types of operators work, and then writing out your results to the console so that you get some practice producing those results and running your applications.